This episode is brought to you by Logos Online. To find out more, please visit logosonlineschool.com. Cross-Politic begins in 3, 2, 1. Could New York vote for Trump? The Electoral College.
What?
Yes. Green New Deal and Tauntauns.
What?
We'll get there. Maryland's going to get rich again, raising the minimum wage.
No, they're not.
You don't think
The
so?
new Detroit.
And San Antonio, Texas says no to Chick-fil-A.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Wait.
The airport said no to Chick-fil-A. It hurts, man.
And Gary DeMar.
Hey, coming out of retirement, Uncle Gary DeMar, 6'1", 225 pounds of pure muscle.
215.
As you can see, we're just a bunch of rowdy Presbyterians mixing the taboo formula of faith, culture, and politics, bringing the clarity of the gospel into muddle America.
Hey.
Can I go, woo?
What you can do right now is get that mug off this table.
Hey,
Man,
but I just wanted to point out that now everybody, baseball started, so it's all good. Everything's back to normal. We got baseball going on again, right? Everybody
No, you
knows
don't talk about baseball until after March Madness.
No, March
Madness is not
is
over.
everybody going mad because baseball hasn't started yet. But now it's started, so it's all good.
And the cross-politic family ESPN bracket's going crazy. So no one's 100%.
Does anybody watch baseball anymore?
Oh, yeah.
Because they don't talk about it on ESPN ever.
You see what
hardly.
these guys are getting paid now? $300 million, $350 million.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Somebody's watching.
Yeah,
for
Mike-
Hey,
making
baby,
that
buy
much.
DJ a ball in the back.
What, is it Trout? Mike Trout that just got that big, that enormous, it's the biggest sports contract
It's
in
like
history.
It's like a 10-year contract or something like
Almost $500,000.
$500 million.
$500 million.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a million. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I know my millions and my billions.
yeah.
Maybe we should ask Maryland about the millions and the billions since they're.
that. We're going to get there.
Okay.
We're going to get there. Make sure you guys share the show right now.
Yeah.
Like it, share it, and thank you all our club members.
Oh, yes.
We are building out our club content.
Proverbs
and
with Pastor Toby,
Uncle
Session 9.
Gary.
Oh, that's right.
Uncle Gary.
That's what-
We got some club content coming with Uncle Gary, which we'll talk about.
But you got to be a member.
You got to be a member.
Oh,
You
my.
gotta be a member. All right, guys. So the Electoral College funniness is going on. There's 12 states that have signed on. It's a compact, as you pointed out before the show. California, Connecticut, Hawaii, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Rhode Island, Vermont, Washington State, which is 7 miles from us, and Colorado.
Yeah.
So what they're, as I understand it, I think Toby,
I want to hear what you think it is.
So as I understand. So as I understand it, is if the popular, what they're signing off to is if the popular vote, the nationwide popular vote, whatever that popular vote goes towards, Trump, Hillary, whatever, whoever gets the popular vote, all the electoral votes from Colorado or one of those states will end up going to that candidate that gets the
Right.
popular vote.
Right.
So the national popular vote is going to dictate where
What
that
their state vote was. So
Yeah.
this is an end round, a run around the Electoral College. You can actually read about it at nationalpopularvote.com. So this is the website for this compact.
Movement. Okay.
And so these states have, it's the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. And what they're saying is if enough states sign on such that the total electoral votes of all the states that have signed on equals 270 electoral votes, which is what
it takes to become president.
what you need to become president. Then at that point, when that number of states have signed on, and there's a total of 270, no matter what their state votes for, the popular vote will dictate what their electoral votes go to.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which means if Trump could potentially get the popular vote this next go around, Hillary Clinton got 2 million votes over Trump last year. So she got the popular vote nationwide. But if Trump gets it, then New York's votes could potentially,
And this
New York's
is being,
electoral
this is
college
being
could potentially
celebrated
go-
by Elizabeth Warren and a lot of the big Democratic presidential nominees who are assuming that the popular vote is swinging in their favor.
Right.
Of
Well,
course,
yeah, last election.
but of course, it
It
could
did.
backfire.
Yep.
It could totally backfire. The nationalpopularvote.com says the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact would guarantee the presidency to the candidate who receives the most popular votes in all 50 states and the District of Columbia. The bill ensures that every vote in every state will matter in every presidential election,
That's not what that is.
which is a lie,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? Because what they're saying though is that the states that don't vote for the popular, what the nation does is the popular vote, their votes don't matter.
Yeah.
Their votes don't count.
So why is it set up? I mean, Uncle, this is part of your background.
One of your
You got
lanes.
a book called Guiding Government. So why is it that we do things the way we do now with the popular vote versus the Electoral College?
Well, because it was the states that created the national government. And the states wanted protection of their states' rights. That's why you have the 9th and 10th Amendments to the Constitution. The Constitution is a document of enumerated powers. And so the only powers the federal government has are the powers that are actually listed in the Constitution. And any other powers that exist reside with the states. And if the states don't have those powers, then they reside with the people. So the states wanted to guarantee that their state governments and their own constitutions and their own laws and their own rules were maintained while the federal government had its limited powers. And so it was a block to the national government to protect the states. And so Idaho and Georgia and Pennsylvania, they have their own governors and their own constitution. They are protected. They have their own tax rates. They're different. California tax rates are different from Georgia and so forth. Some states don't have a state income tax. Some states do have an state income tax. Mm-hmm. That was the guarantee. So the Electoral College was designed to give each state a voting right and not the people generally. Because think about it. California has approximately 39 million people. You take California, New York, just New York City, Florida, and Texas, you got about 5 or 6 states, Pennsylvania and Illinois, who would dominate the popular vote.
Right.
And it would tip it all to those major leftist states. So the guarantee of the Electoral College is each state has a stake in the election. Yeah. And it guarantees their rights and their privileges.
And it would actually change the presidential campaigning. They would just end up going to New York, Texas. They'd never end up in Iowa anymore.
Right. Well, that's the insane thing. Is like, I think Elizabeth Warren was like campaigning. Where was she campaigning? Like in Alabama or something. And she was like, you need the presidential candidates to pay more attention to you. That's why I'm against the Electoral College. But the exact opposite is what would happen. Mm-hmm. There would be no reason for them to go there at all. They would go to the states where all the people are. Yep. The other thing that's going on in all this is the country was founded with a deep suspicion of democracy. Right? The founding fathers, I mean, technically speaking, we are not a democracy.
Exactly.
There are democratic elements in our form of government, but we are a republic.
Representative republic, right?
We are a republic, which means that, and that's because the founding fathers distrusted the masses.
Right.
And so they wanted the energy and the animus and the emotional energy of the masses to be funneled through particular representatives.
Right.
They thought it needed to be tamed. It needed to be disciplined because they had seen what the masses did in France.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, this is on purpose. This is not a design flaw. This is a design feature.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Francis Schaeffer called it the tyranny of the 51%. And James Madison had harsh things to say about democracy as well. But you made the important point. There are democratic elements within our system, but there's also monarchical elements as well. We have a president, for example. Right. And you have kind of an oligarchy with the Supreme Court. So you have we elect our president. We elect our House and Senate through the popular vote, although the Senate, if you think originally, the Senate was not elected by popular vote.
Right, originally.
Right. Because the Senate literally represented the states, not the people generally.
Right.
The Senate was appointed, not elected originally, right?
Well, the states appointed they determined who the Senate was going to be because they were there to protect the states' interests.
Right. So we've been sliding a little bit more democratically over the decades, over the centuries here. Yeah. But originally it was the House of Representatives who are elected on a 2-year running cycle. And every 2 years, the people can they can fire the representatives and hire a new representative. That was supposed to be the place where you had sort of the most immediate impact. But it was to be contained and guarded by the Senate, guarded by veto power of the president and by the judicial check.
Yeah.
Could you, one of the things that happened in an election with Bush versus, who was it, Kerry? Where the whole mashup happened in Florida. We couldn't get,
the Chads, the
hanging Chads.
Yeah.
Hanging Chads.
And one of the things this is the first time I think I had heard this in an election. I was just starting to vote at the time too. The popular vote had went to Kerry, I believe at the time. And everybody felt like they got robbed because Bush was elected president because of electoral vote.
It was like, I think it was like less than 500,000 votes or something like that in Florida.
But one of the things that happened at that time was this is when I remember the conversation actually rising to public awareness of electoral college versus the popular vote. Would you kind of explain for me how the electoral college works? Because it feels like in a lot of ways, it feels like a federal representation. Like we have federal heads that we appoint and they represent us, and then we have them come together and then make their decision. Is that how it's working, or?
Well, I mean, the people do in fact vote in each state, and whoever wins the popular vote, those electoral votes go to the president. I mean, it's really quite simple. The thing with Florida in that particular election is that the claim was that Pat Buchanan, who was kind of a spoiler, his vote was suspicious in certain counties within Florida, and they said it didn't make sense, and so they went with this recount because a recount comes in when there's a certain percentage of votes then that someone could then claim for a recount. Then they went through the whole business of hand checking everything. And so, did you count this, Chad? Was it really pushed and all that? It was a mess.
In Atlanta too, in Georgia, right?
Not so much there. It was, and that's why they went with these voting machines, because they try to get rid of the mistakes that people would make in hand ballots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's a mess. Georgia is fighting this too. They're putting in new machines and so forth. And but see, those things could be
hacked.
They could be hacked. Yeah. I mean, the system. The system is a mess. I think what they ought to do is have a paper ballot. You fill it out. You sign the bottom of it, and there's a notary at the end of the deal, notarizes it, and it's machine fed. And if there's a vote count later on, you take the hand ones, and the only ones that can be counted are the ones that are notarized and signed by the person who voted, and also the representative who is there at the voting place. That way, you know exactly who it is, and if that isn't notarized on that particular date, it doesn't count.
Yeah, I think we're so wicked that it wouldn't matter. I think we need honest men again. So
in the history of the United States, it's happened 5 times that the Electoral College has trumped the popular vote. It happened in 1824 with John Quincy Adams. It was the very first time, which if you think about it, I mean, it's only less than 50 years into the founding of our nation. And then it happened in 1876 with Rutherford B. Hayes, and in 1888, less than 12 years later with Benjamin Harrison. And then it didn't happen again until 2000 with George W. Bush. And Al Gore. And then it was Donald Trump and
so
Hillary
it's
Clinton.
happened. It seems a lot more often now.
Well, no, actually not. Well, actually not, because 76 and 1888 was within about 12 years. It's happened again within about 16 years.
This is just part of the system.
So
it's working.
I think that's what we need to recognize, though, is historically. I mean, 5 times in 250 years.
About this,
See, I think the larger issue in all this is that the federal government has so much power that it was never designed to have.
Right.
And as a result of that, you have those who want to use the power of the state to impose a different agenda, literally an unconstitutional agenda on all the nations. So now the presidency has taken on much more importance because of the other problem we're having is that we have 5 unelected judges who are making ultimate decisions for us. And that comes down to the president making the pick.
Yeah.
If we got back to an actual constitutional government of enumerated powers, this wouldn't be such an issue.
And you say 5 unelected judges because you're talking about the majority of the Supreme Court.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying.
I mean, think of that. We have 320 million population.
Yeah.
We have 5 unelected judges
that can say abortion's legal,
who make the decision.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and I think there's a lot of what it's been going on recently is that the Democrats are just trying to do one power grab after another. The Mueller report is a power grab. The Electoral College is a power grab, and the Green Deal is a power grab.
Yeah.
If you guys have been following this, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell set up the vote for the Democratic Party to vote on the Green Deal, and he did this because Ocasio-Cortez brings this Green Deal to and says it's a good thing. 12 Democratic presidential candidates all sponsored this Green Bill. So Mitch McConnell brings it to the floor. And none of the Democrats vote for it. They all vote present.
What is going on with that?
Why would they not vote for it?
Why would they only vote present?
Yeah.
Why would all the Democrats vote present?
Well, because they don't want to go on record with the thing, obviously. But I know they're
on record already.
They've already endorsed it.
I mean, there's like interview after interview where they say we need to do this, we need to do this.
It's just bizarre. I mean, this is the most bizarre group of candidates we have ever seen.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I got this video from Mike Lee trolling the bizarreness, talking about, so Mitch McConnell brings it to the floor, Mike Lee gets on the floor, and...
Well, I'll tell you how. Tauntauns, Mr. President. This is a beloved species of reptile mammals, native to the ice planet of Hoth. Now, while perhaps not as efficient in some ways as airplanes or as snowmobiles, these hairy bipedal species of space lizards offer their own unique benefits. Not only are tauntauns carbon neutral, but according to a report a long time ago and issued far, far away, they may even be fully recyclable and usable for their warmth.
So that's Senator Mike Lee trolling the Green New Deal, because part of what was in the Green New Deal is they're trying to eliminate airplanes, they're trying to eliminate cows, all these non-carbon neutral, and so he brings tauntauns from Star Wars. I actually
think that was really good. I think the argumentation, like you said, this is just kind of crazy right now. The group that we have, there isn't like a strategic way to fight them other than to mock them at this point.
Yeah.
Finally, the Republicans have evolved a backbone.
Thank you, Trump.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, exactly.
It's Trump.
Yeah. I talk to people all the time, and I said, why'd you vote for Trump? He fights. He gets out there and he fights. I mean, Mitch McConnell brings the Green New Deal to a vote.
Yeah.
That was great strategy.
Right.
I mean, Mike Lee doing what he's done. I mean, ridicule. The Bible is filled with ridicule.
Right.
Yeah.
And it works. And I'm glad to see that the Republicans are finally doing something. I would actually like to see something real put up there, and that is to go back before the automobile. And what cleaned up the environment more than any other invention? It was the automobile.
Ooh.
Because horse and buggy era. Do you think in the summertime when the horses defecated all over the streets, it dried out, and then the buggies ran over it, and then the dust would get into the air and people would breathe it. In the wintertime, after the snow melted, it was a slush, dead horse carcasses on the streets. When the automobile came in, it eliminated all of that. So the automobile cleaned up the environment and saved the whales.
This is why you need a Christian education for your kids, so that they can learn to mock insanity like Mike Lee. Logos Online School provides a Christ-centered classical education for grades 7 through 12 that is both affordable and accredited. Their mission is to support parents as they raise their children in the nurture and admonition of Jesus. Classes meet online daily, Monday through Thursday, with outstanding teachers who take a personal interest in your student. Unlike other programs, there are no extra fees for diploma students and honors classes. Registration is now open for fall classes. Christian and classical, accredited and affordable, logosonlineschool.com.
Sign up.
And they're sponsors of Cross Politics, so support the people that support us. And when we come back, if Uncle Gary was mayor for a day, what would he implement? More Cross Politics with Uncle Gary when we come back.
Logos Online School is your affordable partner in classical Christian homeschooling, offering live teacher-led instruction 4 days a week to students in grades 7 through 12. Our experienced, enthusiastic teachers provide instruction in math, science, literature, history, languages, Bible, apologetics, rhetoric, government, and economics. Find out why more and more Christian homeschoolers are turning to Logos Online School for the education of their children. Go to logosonlineschool.com today.
If you need a little red meat in your diet, Pastor Doug Wilson.
When the Constitution of the United States was adopted, the First Amendment addressed the issue of an established church at the federal level. But this did not address the Christendom question. It has been made to address it by means of revisionist history, but originally it had nothing whatever to do with it. The Constitution forbade a Church of the United States on federal grounds, not on secular grounds. The document was dated in the year of our Lord, 1789. And at the time it was adopted, 9 out of the 13 states had established churches on the state level. There was no sense in which the non-establishment clause was violated by those states having official state religions.
To enjoy more red meat of this kind, check out the podcast on iTunes, or for more blogging of this particular nature, blog and Mayblog at DougWills.com. Kind of sticks in your teeth, don't it? Uncle Gary, take your headphones off for a second. Just take them off. Good. Okay, you're good. He didn't do it. He usually screams right about there, and I didn't want you to be alarmed.
You distracted me.
Yeah, he does a horrible yell right there.
Oh, yeah, that's terrible. Hey, welcome back to Cross Politic. It's good to have you with us. If you haven't already, please like and share the show on all your platforms. Tag your friends, tag your enemies, tag that special someone that you're hoping to ask on a date very soon.
Ooh. Your special pre-meal friend.
With us today on the show, we have Gary DeMar, Senior Fellow at American Vision. He served as president of American Vision for 35 years. He is now known as El Presidente. He's a graduate of Western Michigan University, 1973, earned his MDiv at Reformed Theological Seminary.
RTS.
He is the author of countless essays, news articles, and more than 35 book titles.
What?
He's been featured by nearly every major news media outlet. He has also hosted the Gary DeMar Show, History Unwrapped.
I remember that.
And Gary DeMar's Vantage Point web show, and is a regular contributor to AmericanVision.org.
He rapped history?
He's from the Atlanta area since 1979. They have 2 married sons. And how many grandchildren?
9.
Ooh.
That's pretty good return.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Baptized?
Are those grandchildren baptized?
Oh, sure.
Duh. Also, I don't know if it's in there, but one of the baddest theologians in the Southeast on Revelations.
Yeah,
That's also, that should be in your Bible.
Revelations. What's that?
The book of Revelation. Shut it. No S.
Revelation.
No S.
It's not
Revelations?
plural. Book of Revelation.
Oh, my charismatic came in.
Oh, I know.
You can find
It's a revelation.
You have to add an S to everything.
Revelations. That's right. You know
Book
it.
of Revelation.
Yeah. Ecclesiastes.
Proverbs. You can find Gary at GaryDemar.com, where he writes regularly.
GodfatherPolitics.com, right?
Godfather Politics? Oh, my
That's right.
gracious. That's not on. This
Yeah,
is not on here.
that's the one he keeps under the table.
So here's the thing. We want to get you in trouble.
Okay.
So
Yes.
that's really what we want to do. And so Texas AG is investigating Chick-fil-A's exclusion from the San Antonio
Airport.
So Texas Attorney General opened an investigation this last week into San Antonio's decision to exclude Chick-fil-A from opening an airport concession facility due to the fast food chain owner's record on LGBT issues.
Biblical record.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so he's investigating whether Texas' second largest city violated state law with the rejection. Paxton, who's the attorney general, called the move the opposite of tolerance and a discriminatory decision based on the religious beliefs of the chain's owners. Seems kind of straightforward.
Yep.
And anyways, so the San Antonio City Council voted 6-4 last week to block Chick-fil-A from getting a new concession contract at the airport. The council members voted instead for city staff to find another company for the contract. So, Mr. DeMar.
Yes.
Mayor DeMar.
Mayor DeMar. You're the mayor of San Antonio.
Mayor Uncle DeMar.
El Presidente. If you're mayor for a day, what are some of the things you go after? And maybe especially this just happened in your city. What do you do?
Well, if it's San Antonio, I'd have Chick-fil-A at every concourse. Not just one, but maybe 3 or 4.
A terminal, B terminal.
New York tried this in the city. They tried to keep Chick-fil-A out of the city of New York. And I think there are now 4 Chick-fil-A's in New York. And Chick-fil-A has the largest Chick-fil-A in the world in New York. It's actually 3 stories.
That is
really
awesome.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, it's like New York style Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, exactly.
In New York, we do 3 stories.
Yeah, we do 3 stories. Yes, and the lines are around the block.
Yeah.
So if these guys believe in democracy, let the people decide if they want a Chick-fil-A.
How about that popular vote?
Yeah, exactly. And I'll say, as a mayor, I would say to Chick-fil-A, look, here's the deal. Just let's bring a whole bunch of free chicken sandwiches in, chicken biscuits, and then feed everybody, and then let them vote. And take take a cue from the Democrats. They pay people to get on buses and vote. We just use chicken sandwiches.
Yeah, or manna from heaven, as that's
at the University of Idaho here in town. There's at the college in the commons where there's the eatery, the food cafeteria. Chick-fil-A is in there. It's been there for a couple of years, and every time I go, it's the longest line easily.
Yeah, every time.
And
easily.
it was protested.
And there was some letters to the college protesting.
It was a lazy protest because ultimately they all wanted the chicken sandwich. But.
So, and you said in New York they didn't have one, and then they get one. They started populating, right? And then three.
Oh yeah.
So I think liberals might understand the fact that if you let Chick-fil-A in, all of a sudden they're like bunnies. They just start populating all over the place, and now you got a problem. Because honestly,
your cash dollar voted on it.
Part of the threat of Chick-fil-A is that everybody knows that they're Christian.
Right.
But when a Christian business doesn't have anything attached to them that you can poke at, like, well, they have horrible service, or they're not consistent with their worldview, or there's nothing there. It's just a good chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yet their political worldview is so strong.
And I've never had a bad customer experience.
You know what? That's not true. I went there and they only told me thank you once.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, you're dropping.
Right.
I went there one time, they didn't wash my car. That was another time. I got to remember that. I was pretty disappointed.
But usually you have not had the kind of customer service that you've had there.
Absolutely.
Usually, they're like, they're chasing after you, taking care of you, and the food is just great. And their income, have you read stuff on their business? Like, they're closed on Sundays.
Yeah.
So they have one day less, and it's a weekend day.
Yep.
Where
people get out.
Sales are typically higher.
Yep.
Yeah. You think God's blessing that?
And God is blessing the socks off them.
I think per store they make more money than any other. I think combined. McDonald's, Burger King, and I forget what the third one is. Combined, Chick-fil-A does more money per store.
That's what I'm saying.
Isn't it interesting though that was it the council? What council was it?
The city council of San Antonio.
It must be really nice to tell a business they can't come here and open up a store and tell other people who they can and can't have.
Well, no, think of the jobs. I mean, I want a job at Chick-fil-A.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're not going to let this company in here, and I'd like to work for Chick-fil-A. Let me tell you, Chick-fil-A, you work there, they give scholarship money. I have a number of friends, church members, two of their sons work at Chick-fil-A. That's
done that.
That's
our intern has worked there.
They want to stay there. These are kids who work at minimum wage, start off minimum wage. I think Chick-fil-A actually pays more. They stay there long enough, they get a college degree, and they end up staying with Chick-fil-A and staying with the company.
Wow.
People talk about democracy and give people a voice and so forth. This is no business of the city council.
Right. If the business was a Muslim-owned business,
that's what I was. Yeah, that's what I was going
believed for. In. I don't know,
stoning homosexuals,
throwing homosexuals off of buildings.
Yeah,
as they do in the Middle East. Sometimes
the latest news story is that stoning homosexuals and cutting off hands of thieves.
Yeah.
Bible's restitution. You don't cut anything off.
Right.
I guess maybe in circumcision, but that's just
New covenant.
This is a family show.
Yeah.
So wait.
He said circumcision.
Yeah. What? You're mayor for a day. What's kind of the role of mayor, and especially in light of kind of the bigger problems that are going on in the state or even nationally? How should you, as a Christian mayor, kind of respond to things like Chick-fil-A, but kind of even bigger influences that are trying to infiltrate in the cities?
I would take mayor for a month. Give me a month.
Okay. We'll give you a month.
I'll give you a year.
And
I'll give you 4 years.
Yeah. And I think I would spend that entire month just educating. I'd do the mayor show,
like a Mike Lee.
Yeah, every day, just get on there and giving people information about what's going on. This is why Trump is using Twitter. People, why does he keep using Twitter? It's the only way he can get his message out.
Right.
And
unfiltered.
Exactly.
Completely unfiltered. It's him direct to the masses.
Right. And see, people, he shouldn't do that. And so he needs to keep doing it. I would be in an educational paint, because 90% or more of kids are going to government schools.
Right.
And they're not getting the truth. Many people don't read the news, and this would be an update, and it'd make it a fun show like you guys are doing here.
Thank you. Will you say that again to the mic this time?
Yeah. Fun show.
Thank you.
Cross politics.
Thank you.
He endorsed us. Clip that.
And I put an S on that, by the way. So
politics.
Thank you. But it's funny that you say that, because when you said that, all I thought about was that's actually part of the Christian's job is discipleship, to train people up and how they're supposed to obey God and honor God. And if you're a Christian, you're a mayor, your standard is pulling from Scripture. And so you're telling people, listen, this is what your responsibility is before God. This is our responsibility. And so how does that work? In a position like that, how do you do that at the same time and not feel like you're pastoring? I mean, you know,
well,
what I mean?
It is a kind of pastoring.
Well, Romans 13 says that the civil magistrate is a minister.
So would your first thing as a mayor be, okay, first thing, y'all need to repent. That's the first thing y'all need to do. Get on your knees before Jesus and repent.
Well, I would do the self-government. I mean, the most fundamental government is self-government.
Yeah.
You begin to govern yourselves. We'll help you do that. And one ways to do that is to, put you in places where you can get some instruction on your own to fix some things and not have the government fix it all the time. I would then be involved in what government ought to be doing. And the simplest thing is, and I think Mayor Giuliani did this in New York, he fixed broken windows, fixed them. Anytime there was a window broken, he went in there and fixed them. Anytime there was graffiti, ended up painting it over.
That ain't his buildings, though.
That's potholes in the street. That is the legitimate government.
You're talking about government buildings.
Yeah, government buildings.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. And fixing the streets.
Like schools.
So, just getting people used to what civil government ought to be, and then showing the responsibility that's necessary for the general public.
Seems like one of the other things you got going on too, though, is we have this. It's been ingrained in us that if something is wrong, we want the government to fix it.
Yep.
Rather than recognizing that there's a lot of things that government's just not good for, and the other spheres of government, family and church, are actually designed by God to actually carry those things out well.
Yeah.
And so, what is the civil government supposed to do? But I think also just recognizing, like, do you want the government taking care of you when you're sick? Or do you want your mom and dad?
Yeah.
Like who's good at teaching kids? The government? Like, you want to send away to across the country and have them decide what's good for teaching your kids? Or are you actually well informed about what your kids need? I mean,
and what you want them to learn.
Right, exactly.
How does the law of lesser magistrates, how would that influence you as a mayor?
Well, again, any mayor is bound by whatever the directive is in terms of the state constitution and so forth, and what the city council says. So you're kind of stuck with that. You can't circumvent them and create a rebellion. That's why I think the educational aspect of this takes over. You got to tell people what's really going on. Mm-hmm. You have to expose people to the truth by making people aware of what these people are doing behind closed doors and trying to implement. In Georgia, the fact the city council president lost his job in a vote because he snuck through the new SunTrust Stadium, forced it on Cobb County where I live, and
he
bonds
snuck it through?
he backroom deals and so forth, and we really weren't given a chance to vote for it. The majority of people didn't want it. It's right on I-75. Yeah. It's and the highways all around it. It's a mess. To me, these stadiums. Look, you want a stadium here, you find the money to put it in here. If you don't want it, you go somewhere else.
Yeah.
These stadiums rarely bring that money into a town, and the taxpayers are left paying the bill.
Right.
So you got the civil magistrate, you have the church, and then you have the home. Out of all those three spheres, you would probably say the most broken sphere really is the home sphere. The home
and part of that is the result of government interference in creating programs that make the families dependent upon the state. And therefore their children become dependent as well.
But we don't have to take the cookie, though. Right? Like, they can
you
do that.
You got to define take the cookie.
Right.
Yeah.
I saw you look at me like, what you talking about cookie?
Cookies?
Yeah, I take the cookies. But I mean, so the family, they don't have to do that. But the reason that they do that is because they don't understand their own roles and responsibility, though, right? You take the cookie because you think it's going to make you get ahead, right? Oh, this is going to help us.
This is the government school program. This is the government health care program. Right. This is the government social security program. This is like you buy, like, but you don't have to take those cookies. You don't have to take those benefits.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
right?
But see, the government makes it easy for you to take the cookie.
Exactly.
Because the government says, I'm going to give you this much money, but if the father isn't in the home, you're going to get more money.
Right.
So the father leaves the home.
It's incentivizing infidelity.
Yeah. And oftentimes the father has to hide. When somebody comes on to check, he hides in the closet or whatever. I saw a video on this.
Really? Destroyed the black community.
Wow. Exactly.
Destroyed the black community.
And it broke up the families. And then, when you subsidize something, you get more of it.
Right.
Yeah. I pay you money to do something untoward. Hey.
Yeah. I remember when I first started filing taxes with kids and they're trying to, and I realized you're giving me a bunch of money that you didn't actually take from me because they want to do the child tax credit thing.
Oh, right.
And they're like, here, and I was like, but that's not my money. I looked at my taxes and I was like, I'll take back the money you took from me.
Yeah.
Sure. But this other several $1,000s,
whose money is that?
It's not my money. And so I didn't take it. And then they wrote me letters about how I failed to file my taxes right. And I was like, whatever, I don't care. And then they sent me a check. And I was like, no, I didn't really want the money. But then now after it's like all direct deposit stuff now, it's just like they just automatically put it in my bank account every year. Like, it's not my money.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I just started like doing like double tithes on it like it was stolen money.
Here, Jesus,
like, I don't know whose money this is, God, but they keep putting it in my account. So I'm just going to give a bunch of it away and recognize it's yours. It's not mine. And, I'm in a messed up system.
Uncle Gary, you're not off the hook yet. When we come back, I want to talk to you about, you got a governor for a month. I'll give you governor for a month. I'll give you president for a month.
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll talk about that and some eschatology.
Oh.
Yeah, he gets excited about eschatology
and
stuff.
magic tricks? Are you going to do a magic trick for us?
No, I don't have my stuff here.
Oh, come on. You can make that disappear. Do something.
What do you want to
make at least more cross politics when we come back. Make that Cortex lady disappear.
Classical Conversations supports homeschooling parents by cultivating the love of learning through a Christian worldview in fellowship with other families. We provide a classical, Christ-centered curriculum, local, like-minded communities across the United States and in several countries, and we train parents who are striving to be great classical educators in the home. For more information and to get connected, please visit our website at classicalconversations.com. Classical, Christian, get connected, get community.
If you are a homeschooler, we have an app for you. Check out Learnly.me. With Learnly, you can capture your family's learning experience anytime, anywhere, and it's all pushed into a digital portfolio that allows you to create classes, grade work, a family learning experience, and generate transcripts all with a single click. Something all homeschoolers should be doing. And for Cross Politic listeners, use discount code LearnlyCross to get 50% off the first 3 months on a monthly subscription plan on top of 30 days free. So head on over to learnly.me/crosspolitic. That's learnly.me/crosspolitic.
We want her there.
We can talk minimum wage?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome back to Cross Politic. With us in the studio today, Gary DeMar from American Vision.
My old boss.
Uncle Gary.
Uncle El Presidente, Mayor, Governor, Dictator for a day. If you're not a member of Cross Politic, what's wrong with you? Join. You get access to all kinds of behind the scenes content, including some brand new content that we're working on right now with Gary DeMar on God and Government and
eschatology. I don't know what we're calling it. You're great with names. What are we going to call that project?
End Times Madness.
Last time.
Last Days Madness.
Yeah.
Yes.
How to miss the rapture? Can we do that?
How to miss the rapture? It's not coming.
It's not coming.
Exactly. That's exactly right. That's going to be a short project.
You missed it. But you should join so you can watch that. All right. Gary, you are governor for a day now. For a month. We'll give you a month.
Yeah.
I mean, so Maryland governor tried to do some basic math recently.
Tried.
He
was pretty successful at it.
He vetoed a $15 minimum wage law. They're trying to become the new Detroit.
Yeah.
Or the new Seattle.
Yep.
Because that's really working.
Yeah.
Right? And it was like, look, minimum wage is bad. It reduces employment. Like you have, you pay them more money.
Yeah.
You have less money to hire people. Minimum wage hikes reduce the earnings of low paid workers because you have less money to pay them with. So they get their hours go down.
Yep.
it makes some low-paid workers better off at the expense of others. Young workers, less skilled workers can't enter the workforce.
Because who are you going to hire? Are you going to hire a 15-year-old at $15 an hour? Or are you going to hire a 21-year-old at $15
absolutely.
an hour?
And can I just say too, it ain't none of your business.
And
Yeah.
and
mean,
there's
it's that.
so you're governor of Maryland for a month.
And assassinated.
Well, after a month,
After-
you have a real good run, 4-week run, and
Get
then
them through.
And
Set up
Knox
the
is your
next
vice
guy.
president.
Oh,
So-
they definitely got
Yeah.
They're not going to kill you now.
What do you do? How do you respond to this $15 minimum wage law that just gets passed in Maryland?
Well, of course, this is above and beyond what the federal minimum wage is. I'd like to see the minimum wage completely abolished.
What?
And
Do you hate poor people?
He hates black people.
I love poor people. That's why I want it abolished.
Why?
Because it's an entryway. If people are still making the minimum wage when they're 30, 40, and 50 years old, the problem is with them, not the minimum wage. Did I say something bad?
No. But that's what nobody says. Everybody thinks it's the problem with the system. They never say, oh, it's the person who's supposed to be educating himself to get a better paying
Yeah,
job.
why would I hire somebody who had no experience? Some guy comes. In fact, I think a person ought to be able to work for free. And so I'd like to learn a skill. Like I'd like to learn how to do video editing. And so you
Thank
can't,
you, Cooper.
You
You
can't
can work for free for me anytime you want.
You can't afford to hire me. And I say, hey, if you come and work for me, I'll teach you how to do that. I'm going to give you a skill.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
That's right.
You have to pay them something. And there's another side of this that people don't realize is that when you increase the minimum wage, you also increase, not only do you increase the salary that has to be paid, but it increases also the amount of Social Security, Medicare that comes out. Because
the price of a
that's
cheeseburger.
I don't know if people know this, but when you have a job somewhere and they take the Social Security and Medicare out of your pay, your employer's paying the same amount.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's almost 15%.
Right.
You pay about 7.5%. He pays about 7.5%. And when you work for yourself, you're paying the full amount. It really shows how much is what's taking place there.
Self-employed people know about this.
Oh yeah, it's
right
awful.
about now.
Yeah,
right about now, they know about this.
That's right. Tell me about it. So, but no minimum wage. And what'll happen is,
but don't people need to make money? Don't they need to make a living? I mean, like poor people and young people, don't they need to make a living?
I can't pay my rent with no minimum wage.
I mean, they can't work for free.
I just
But here's the thing: is a lot of these entry level jobs. I think it's like 70% of them are people who live in a residence that has another larger income.
How many?
I think it's like 70%.
Okay.
So a high amount of these people who have minimum wage jobs are living either at home with their mom and dad, or it's a second job as part of the household income. So
right. So why do people want minimum wage laws?
I think look, the government is involved in everything. The government is in a manipulative business. It thinks it has to fix the economy.
Right.
Someone like Donald Trump comes in and he gets rid of regulations and so forth. And what's happened to the unemployment rate? It's below 4%, which is basically full employment. And this happened during Clinton's administration as well. You started seeing we need to hire, hiring and so forth and so on. What happened to the minimum wage? Well, employers were having to pay more than a minimum wage because they needed to get employees.
They needed to find employees.
So when the government gets involved in the marketplace, it affects wages and so forth, and they put restrictions on companies, and they have to do this and they have to do that, and so the companies have to do something, so they cut back. You free the market. What happens is an employment demand goes up. You're going to look. I have a couple of businesses that for-profit business. We don't pay the minimum wage.
Yeah.
I can't pay the minimum wage. No one will work for us at a minimum wage.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
Right.
I think employers in many cases, some of them like a minimum wage because they can then keep wages down based on that. You get rid of the minimum wage, you're going to see wages actually go up.
And two, the federal government or the government doesn't have any responsibility to the company to tell them what they need to be paying an employee. They're overreaching their jurisdiction.
Yeah.
If I have a company that's my entity, as long as I'm following the rules and doing things right and just, if me and that person agree to a deal, biblical law. If me and that person agree to a deal, who are they to say, y'all can't do that deal?
Right. But and the thing is that I noticed too is this is a bottleneck on creativity and the growth of business, because they're saying you can't run your business except for the prefab ways that we've figured out how you can run a business. But this, like, the whole point of ingenuity and creativity and discovery is inventing new ways to do business and new businesses, new widgets and gadgets that you come up with. And the whole point of it is to say, you've not thought of this before. And this is a new way we can organize this, a new way we can sell this. And so the government is saying, no, you can only invent and do business according to these prefab ways, and you have to pay this much.
Right.
It's a bottleneck on actual creativity and the growth of business.
So fix it real quick. Fix it. You're governor. What do you do?
Well, I can't. I mean, can't do it, obviously.
You're back to educating.
I would get back to educating.
No. You had a mayor educating already.
Then what I think I would do is I would bring business leaders in, and I would say, tell me about your business and how it works and functions and so forth, and what do you actually pay? And do you pay anybody the minimum wage? And say, no, we don't. And the reason is because there's demand for our business. And, you've got the restaurant. You're talking about the restaurant business out there.
The coffee shops.
Exactly.
Right.
And most of those businesses, the young people are working there. They're living at home or they're going to school. And by the way, college costs are high because the government's involved in it again. The prices rise because the government's involved in it again, because they inflate. That is, they pour money into the economy, which raises prices. And what happens is the bottom tier is the last to catch up.
Right.
I mean, Dr. Gary North says you can't change just one thing. Everything has to be changed at once in order to make this work. And so the government comes in, it creates a problem, and then someone says you need to fix the problem, and so then they create a bigger problem.
And then they need more money to fix that problem.
They always need more money.
Because the feedback loop is always, well, we started, but we didn't do enough.
Yeah.
So we need a little bit more of your money.
Yeah.
Well, couldn't you as governor nullify some of the federal silliness? Nullify I don't know, minimum wage or
no,
But he's pointing out
you'd be fined. The state would be fined and all that.
But he's also pointing out that a lot of the state laws, the minimum wages are higher in the state laws than the feds.
That's
but
right,
isn't part of the issue with minimum wage too is that no one is talking about what it actually costs to do that job. What does the material actually cost? We're only talking about one thing, which is how much this guy's getting paid.
Yeah, right.
We're not talking about, well, it takes me this much to
supply.
produce
What's
this.
it actually worth?
What's it actually worth to do this? What is it actually worth to flip a cheeseburger for an hour? How do I make, because as you were talking with things that go up, everything goes up with minimum wage. So now a cheeseburger can't be at 99 cents anymore. I need a cheeseburger to be $3 because I got to pay this guy $15 an hour.
Right. But this goes all the way back to the government, though, is trying to be God and basically say this is how much it's worth.
Right. Exactly.
Rather than letting natural forces regulate what this is worth because of actual demand and actual need, is the government saying, no, it'll be worth this much, which is basically us saying, and if a boy wants to be a girl, it can be a girl.
Oh, it's transgendered economics?
Yeah, transgender economics.
Yeah.
We're God has made the world in such a way where gold is actually worth something, where there's fixed values, and there is some fluctuation in value depending on need and demand and supply and certain cultures and so forth. But it reflects reality rather than what we wish it were.
One of the things that as we're filming this project on God and Government, you talked about the fact you had to go back and break down what economics was again. And that seems to be missing in this. And you called economics, I can't remember how you said it. You said it's
well, economics, the simplest definition of economics is let's make a deal.
That's what it was. Let's make a deal.
Let's make a deal.
Right.
I have something you want. You have something I want. Let's trade. It used to be barter. We used to barter. Now it's we exchange money.
Right.
So let's make a deal. I need your services. I'm willing to hire you. And I said, well, you're going to have to pay me this much money. So I can't pay you that much money. I'm going to go somewhere else. Yeah. And if I can't get a job, I might have to come back to you and I'll take it for that.
So what's happening now is like you and Gabe say, let's make a deal. And the federal government's like, yes, let us make a deal.
Yeah.
Let us help you make that deal.
If we approve.
If we approve.
You can make a deal.
Right.
There's a great chapter at the end of Money and Power by George Gilder. This is a great book, but at the end of this last chapter, he says basically free market economy is based on gift giving. The basic assumption is that you have something to give, and you want to give it to people, but you also want to give it to people who need it,
right?
And they express their need for it by giving you something in return. But free market economy is basically based on the idea of gift giving.
Yeah.
But when the government comes in and says, no, they're basically saying you can't be a gift giving society. We're going to regulate this. We're going to demand that you give things only in the way that we think you can give them, which takes away, it's all now by essentially a form of coercion. I mean, there's still a kind of free market reality still going on, but it's highly regulated, which means now that you will give the way that we say you will give, and you will receive the way we say that you will receive. But it's basically stealing a culture of gift giving from people.
Yeah.
Our freedom to give as we want to give. And you want to give your time to me for $3 an hour?
Yeah.
You can give that to me.
Yeah.
And if I want to give you that and you say that would be great for me, then we can make a deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
A free deal.
What's crazy in all this, I was talking to a friend, this must have been like 3 or 4 years ago over in the UK, and he's just so surprised that how Americans could just go start their own company. Like,
it's not quite that easy, but
it's not
we
quite
can.
that easy, but you can pay $100 in Idaho and open up your own LLC.
Right.
And he just said Americans just go out and just start their own companies all the time.
Right.
You know, and it's true.
But we still have a lot of creeping red tape around it.
Huge. It's painful to be your own. We're self-employed. I got my own LLC. You got your own LLC.
Right.
It's painful, but I went and did it.
Right.
Someone in the UK, it's a lot harder to do this. Yeah.
So when you right now, so we're talking about mayor, we're talking about governor, and in the next segment we're going to talk about president. But I think there's one more.
Another segment? This is our third one.
Is it? Oh wow! Okay, so then I guess we got to get it all in right now. Man, I'm just having too much fun. So real quick though, it seems like the area that we haven't talked about, and we really need to. All this education has to ultimately come from the church, and it seems like the reason we're in the situation we're in is because the church has really done a poor job of helping us as Christians understand our own self-government. So how would you tweak that as a pastor to help us really? Because
what do churches and pastors need to do?
All this stuff is going to roll out from the church.
Well, I think a lot of churches, a lot of pastors don't have a complete Christian worldview. They have a very limited worldview. They believe they live in two separate circles. Got Christianity over here, and you got the world over here, and never the twain shall meet. So our Christianity is just personal piety and so forth. That's the start. But the question is, so what do you do with that in the world over here? Well, I have to kind of leave that aside. I can't bring my Christianity over here. Can't impose my morality on other people. Can't judge, et cetera, et cetera. And the biblical model is the Bible applies to everything. God created everything. If God created everything, then there are rules for how everything is supposed to work. And pastors don't get up in the pulpit and teach them about economics. And the word economics is a very biblical word. It's oikonomics, house law.
Yeah.
House law.
The law of the house.
House
means house,
law.
and nomos, law. It's house law. And that word is actually in the Bible. And that means that economics is based upon laws. There are certain economic laws. Thou shalt not steal, fundamental law.
Right.
Just weights and measures.
Right.
Whatever you're about to sell, you have to be honest about it. You can't dilute wine and sell it as a real thing. You can't add a base metal to gold and silver and sell it as the real thing. And that's why coinage used to be gold and silver. It's in the Constitution. Gold and silver, and that's why gold coins, silver coins, you had the little ridges on the end of it around the circle, so you wouldn't shave it off.
Cut off the edges.
Clipping of the coins, and then take those and then go to an assayer's office and so forth. The Bible deals with real issues, and if our government followed those real issues, when McDonald's was started in the 1950s by the McDonald's brothers, and you look and you saw that a hamburger cost 10 cents, and you ask what a hamburger costs today, and you have to ask yourself the question, why is the price higher today? And the reason is because the government has gotten involved and it has added water to the wine. That is, it has added dollars to what real money used to be, and therefore it diluted them and devalued it.
And you're saying, though, but the church failed to teach our people this because we have generations of biblically illiterate people who are doing this. Like, we are doing this to ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, we are saying it's okay for the government to dilute the wine.
And the church is pretty economically illiterate.
Yeah.
Not just biblically, economically illiterate.
I think one of the things we also don't often recognize is the whole idea of a house law it not only is it thou shalt not steal, not only is it laws of restitution and just weights and measures, but it also depends upon a smoothly functioning household. And so the law of a husband and a father taking responsibility and being faithful to his wife and raising children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord, that's an economy.
Yeah,
that's actually the base of a biblical cultural economy. Yeah. And this is why laws that prohibit sexual immorality, fornication, adultery, homosexuality, these things are actually laws protecting the economy.
Yeah. That's why those are crimes too.
And incentivizing the right
incentivizing righteousness. But when you make adultery not a crime, when you make prostitution not a crime, when you make fornication not a crime, homosexuality, all of these things, what you're actually doing is you're committing economic crime.
Come on, now,
you're diluting the potency of the family, where there can be an inheritance. Where wealth can be accumulated in a godly way over generations. And then people who have done that have the incentive to protect it from the overreach of the government and say, no, you cannot dilute the inheritance that I received from my fathers and my grandfathers because of the faithfulness of fathers and husbands down through generations. It's all connected.
Absolutely.
And really Christians need to see that connection.
Uncle Gary, what's your website?
AmericanVision.org or GaryDeMar.com.
We need one more segment.
I found Gary on Twitter. You have a Twitter?
No, he doesn't use a Twitter account.
He hasn't tweeted since December. But there's a great picture of him back when he used to be black.
If you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until next week, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic. I want another segment.
You were going for it.
I wanted another segment.